In the quiet moments before sleep, when the day's decisions weigh heavy on your mind, have you ever wondered if life might be simpler without choice? The paradox of human existence reveals itself in this simple truth. The very freedom we cherish most deeply can become the source of our greatest torment. Consider the morning ritual that begins each day. You stand before your closet, faced with dozens of options, and suddenly this simple act of choosing what to wear becomes a microcosm of larger anxieties. Will this choice reflect who you are? What will others think? Did you make the right decision yesterday? And how might today's choice compound or correct those past mistakes? In this moment, you're experiencing what philosophers call the burden of free will, the weight of infinite possibility pressing down upon finite time. The ancient Stoics understood this burden intimately. They spoke of how choice, while being humanity's greatest gift, also serves as its cruelest curse. Every decision branches into 1,000 what-ifs, each unexplored path haunting us with its potential. When you chose your career, you simultaneously closed doors to countless other lives you might have lived. The artist buried within the accountant, the adventurer silenced by security, the lover lost to logic. These ghost selves whisper their reproaches in moments of quiet reflection. Freedom of choice demands that we become the authors of our own stories, but authorship is a lonely and terrifying responsibility. A character in a predetermined narrative never questions their actions. They simply fulfill their role. But you, blessed and cursed with free will, must justify every page you write. Every relationship entered or avoided, every risk taken or declined, every word spoken or swallowed becomes a judgment upon your character and wisdom. The weight of this responsibility extends beyond personal decisions into the realm of moral choice. When faced with ethical dilemmas, the burden intensifies exponentially. Should you tell your friend the truth about their partner's infidelity, knowing it will cause pain but might prevent greater harm? Should you report a colleague's minor misconduct, risking relationships and office dynamics? Each moral choice carries the weight of consequence, not just for yourself, but for others whose lives intersect with your decisions. The modern world amplifies this burden exponentially. Our ancestors faced perhaps dozens of significant choices in their lifetimes. You face dozens before breakfast. The smartphone in your pocket contains infinite entertainment options, creating a paralysis of choice even in moments meant for rest. Dating apps present endless potential partners, making commitment feel like a betrayal of possibility. Career paths multiply and splinter with dizzying complexity, each requiring you to predict a future you cannot know. This multiplication of choice doesn't liberate, it suffocates. Research in behavioral psychology reveals that people become less satisfied with their decisions as options increase. The restaurant with 3 menu items leaves diners content, while the restaurant with 30 leaves them questioning every bite. Choice overload transforms decision-making from a tool of empowerment into an instrument of self-torture. The digital age has created a peculiar form of choice anxiety that previous generations never experienced. Social media presents us with curated glimpses of alternate lives, each post a reminder of roads not taken. You see the traveling photographer's adventures while sitting in your office cubicle, the entrepreneur's success while clocking into your steady job, the couple's happiness while navigating your own relationship struggles. Every scroll becomes a confrontation with different choices you might have made, different versions of yourself you might have become. The suffering deepens when you realize that choosing is itself a choice. You could surrender your will, follow the crowd, accept whatever comes. Some find peace in rigid religious doctrine or authoritarian systems, precisely because these structures remove the agonizing responsibility of constant decision-making. But if you're reading this, you've likely chosen the harder path of conscious choice, accepting the suffering that comes with it. Even worse, many of your choices aren't truly yours. Society, genetics, upbringing, and circumstance constrain your options in ways both visible and hidden. You think you're choosing freely, but you're really selecting from a pre-curated menu written by forces beyond your control. The illusion of choice becomes another layer of suffering, as you blame yourself for outcomes that were perhaps inevitable from the start. Consider the economic realities that shape your decisions. You might dream of becoming an artist, but student loans demand a stable income. You might wish to spend more time with family, but mortgage payments require longer hours at work. The freedom to choose exists within invisible cages built by circumstances beyond your immediate control. Yet society tells you that success and happiness are simply matters of making the right choices, adding guilt to limitation. The burden of free will becomes particularly acute in relationships. Love, that most fundamental human experience, becomes a minefield of choice. Should you express your feelings and risk rejection? Should you stay in a comfortable but unfulfilling relationship or venture into uncertainty? Should you compromise on your values to maintain harmony, or stand firm and risk conflict? Every interaction becomes a decision point. Every conversation a crossroads where the wrong word might alter the relationship's trajectory forever. The cruelest aspect of free will's burden is that it makes you responsible for your own suffering. The person trapped by fate can rage against cosmic injustice, but the person trapped by choice can only rage against themselves. Every moment of unhappiness becomes evidence of poor decision-making, every failure a testament to your inadequacy as the architect of your own life. The freedom to choose becomes the freedom to be wrong, again and again, with no one to blame but yourself. This self-blame creates a vicious cycle. Poor decisions lead to regret. Regret leads to self-doubt, and self-doubt undermines future decision-making. You begin to question your judgment, second-guess your instincts, and overthink simple choices until paralysis sets in. The very capacity that should empower you becomes the source of your imprisonment. Time adds another dimension to choice's burden. Every decision exists in relationship to past choices and future consequences. The career change you're considering must account for years of education and experience already invested. The relationship you're questioning carries the weight of shared memories and mutual plans. The city you're thinking of leaving holds friendships and routines built over years. Choice isn't just about the present moment. It's about honoring or abandoning entire histories while gambling on unknowable futures. The anxiety of choice often centers on irreversibility. Some decisions can be undone, but others create permanent change. The words you speak in anger cannot be unheard. The trust you break cannot be fully restored. The opportunities you decline may never return. This irreversibility makes every significant choice feel like a life or death decision, because in a sense, it is. Each choice kills the other possible versions of your story. Yet within this burden lies something remarkable about human consciousness. The very fact that choice causes suffering reveals our capacity for imagination and moral reasoning. Animals don't agonize over decisions because they lack our ability to envision alternate realities and weigh abstract values. Your suffering over choices is evidence of your sophisticated mental life, your ability to transcend immediate circumstances and consider broader implications. The burden also reveals our deep need for meaning and purpose. If we were satisfied with mere survival and pleasure, choices would be simple. Always select the option that maximizes immediate gratification. But our suffering over decisions shows that we care about things beyond instant satisfaction. We consider justice, love, growth, legacy, and countless other values that complicate but enrich our decision-making process. Perhaps the burden of choice is inseparable from the human capacity for growth and transformation. Every difficult decision is an opportunity to define and redefine who you are. The parent choosing between career advancement and family time is wrestling with fundamental questions about identity and values. The student selecting a major is not just picking classes, but choosing which aspects of themselves to develop and which to let remain dormant. Consider how choice shapes character over time. Each decision builds upon previous ones, creating patterns that become personality traits, habits that become character. The person who consistently chooses honesty over convenience develops integrity. The person who regularly chooses courage over comfort develops resilience. The burden of choice is actually the burden of becoming, the painful but necessary process of creating yourself through accumulated decisions. The suffering may also serve as a guide. When a choice feels particularly difficult or emotionally charged, it often signals that something important is at stake. The anguish you feel when contemplating leaving a relationship might indicate how much it means to you. The anxiety surrounding a career decision might reveal deep values about identity and purpose. In this sense, the burden of choice becomes a compass, pointing toward what matters most in your life. Yet perhaps this burden points toward something even more profound about human nature. The fact that choice causes suffering might mean that comfort was never our ultimate goal. Maybe we're creatures designed not for happiness, but for growth, not for ease, but for meaning. The ache of decision-making could be the price we pay for the privilege of becoming more than what we were born to be. The burden of free will connects us to something larger than ourselves. When you struggle with a difficult choice, you're participating in the fundamental human experience of grappling with uncertainty and responsibility. Every person who has ever lived has faced moments where the weight of decision felt overwhelming. Your suffering in choice is not a personal failing, but a shared aspect of conscious existence. This shared burden creates unexpected opportunities for connection and empathy. When you recognize that everyone struggles with choice, judgment softens into understanding. The colleague who seems indecisive may be thoughtfully weighing complex factors. The friend who makes choices you wouldn't may be operating from values and circumstances you don't fully understand. The burden of choice, when recognized as universal, becomes a bridge to compassion rather than a source of isolation. In the end, you cannot escape choice any more than you can escape breathing. Even the decision to stop deciding is itself a decision. The burden of free will is not a problem to be solved, but a condition to be lived. Your choices, painful as they are, remain the only tools you have for carving meaning from chaos, for creating something uniquely yours in a universe that offers no guarantees. The suffering of choice is real, but it is also evidence of your humanity. It shows that you are more than a biological machine following programmed responses. You are a conscious being capable of considering abstract values, imagining alternate realities, and taking responsibility for your own existence. The burden proves your freedom, and the freedom proves your dignity as a thinking, choosing, suffering, growing human being. In a world of infinite possibility, you choose to choose, accepting the burden and the beauty of being free. This is not a curse to be lifted, but a gift to be honored. the terrible, wonderful responsibility of being human in all its agonizing complexity.